All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back here to Kicking It with Knuble. Our first guest appearance here, Mike, your former teammate,
Yeah.
Marty BIRON. Martin, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Hope you're
Thanks for
doing
having
well
me.
on
Not
weekend.
just a teammate. I gave up a ton of goals to Knubes when he was with the Bruins and whatnot. So you scored plenty on me, not just in practice in Philly, but also in real games.
I forget, between you and Ryan Miller, it was like 9 games straight or something like that, if I remember. I used to lick my chops going to Buffalo. That's right.
Yeah. If it wasn't you, it was Glenn Murray or like Sports or whatever. You guys were always on top of me. So yes.
No, it's good. Like Marty, you're our first guest. This is really fun, and obviously somebody you were super comfortable with, and just kind of catching up before and catching up on family. And Marty's son now is a goalie at the U.S. Military Academy at the Army, playing college hockey and Army, and got me thinking. And I was thinking about the times. Remember, we'd go there for preseason training. So Flyers would take our group there, kind of play a game, and allegedly kind of practice, but it was more like for us to hang out and kind of get to know each other a little bit, a little calisthenics on the field and stuff. But it's kind of full circle. Your son's back there now. What do you remember most? I have a few things I remember about that place, but curious what you remember about going on those trips back in the day.
I remember the hotel, the Thayer Hotel right there, that hotel when you come into the military academy, the campus on the right. And then we went into town a little bit, Highland Falls there. And I remember Scotty Hartnell took a picture with the lady because they had the same hair. Hartnell's hair was so big and the one lady had big hair. So they took a picture. I have that somewhere in like one of my computers, I think. But more like I remember working out after one practice. And I was never the guy that worked out a lot. But going into that gym, and then it was either the lacrosse team or the wrestling team. Like one of them was having a full circuit, and I walked out. I'm like, I'm embarrassed. I'm a pro athlete, and these are college kids, and they're working out like 100 times harder than I ever have. And I'm out. I'm going to go kick some field goals on the field. Like we went down the field and kicked some field goals. Like that's what it was. And then, Noobs, I don't know if you remember this, but we took the train to get back into Philly, and we played the Phantoms at the Spectrum as a scrimmage, and we got beat. We got beat by the Phantoms, the AHL team. Although it wasn't fair. Nettie Mackey played for them, and he was standing on his head, but we got beat by the Phantoms. I remember John Stevens was not too pleased with our performance that day. But taking the train and playing right away was not something we were used to.
Yeah, that was at the Spectrum, right? Wasn't that the Spectrum or something? Yeah, I mean, that was probably a pretty quiet train ride, but I mean, guys are probably resting a little bit more than doing anything. But yeah, like I remember going out there and their guys, they did a whole, like, it was like weighted rifles, like plastic rifles. We did like a calisthenics on the field and, on the football field, and just did kind of got a taste of their workout and how they do things. And one of the guys I remember is we ate lunch with those guys, right?
Yes.
And they served, they served like 2,000 kids in 15 minutes.
Like, I think it's amazing.
We sit at our table and there's these kids flying around and everybody's rushing in and there's nobody in there. Then everybody's in there. Then everybody's gone. And it was like within 15 minutes. We're like sitting there watching this. We're like, that's pretty amazing.
It's 4,000 cadets in about 15 minutes. There's there's 1,000 cadets or more, a little bit more per class. And they all come in. They all sit with their teams. But funny enough, now, like I learned a little bit more. Like if you're an offensive lineman in football, you sit at your table and your table says XXXL, like they get more food, right? And then if you're like, so they monitor all the food and the intakes and all of that, but it was so fast. It basically, you stand, they make an announcement, you sit, boom, the food's being passed around and it's gone. And 15 minutes and everybody's out of there. And that's 4,000 kids all at once.
Yeah. That was really interesting, but good time. That town got a little small at times for us, I think, like talking about that Thayer Hotel. And I think there was one bar down the street and it was like, they got a little tight. So they probably didn't
want to. No Buffalo Chop House for you. I remember that was your favorite restaurant in the league, the Buffalo Chop House. So I always drive by it and I tell people, Mike Knuble's favorite restaurant right over here in Buffalo. Every time I drive by it.
I even dragged my wife there for USA national camp. So my younger guy was there for the national camp.
Yeah.
So we're going downtown to eat at the Chop House. And it doesn't go over as well in like July when it's like 90 degrees out. It's more like a cold weather, heavy,
dark.
big, wine, dark, cozy.
Yep.
It doesn't hit the same in July when it's like 85 degrees out. It doesn't quite pop.
No, definitely not. But yeah, no, the military academy is going to be special for my son. Obviously, I don't have to do it. He's the one that had to do the 6-week basic training over the summer and the schooling part of it. Because, as you know, hockey players usually play a couple of years of junior hockey or whatnot, which they don't usually go to school throughout that, and then they start their college. And at Westpoint, you have 4 years. It's not like you can say I'm going to take less classes and I'm going to have a 5th or 6th year or whatnot. Like, you have 4 years. That's all it is. So it's a busy schedule. But yeah, I remember, Noobs, we went to Fargo, North Dakota. Obviously, your boy played there, and Jacob, my son, had been invited for their like prospect and rookie, and then he stayed for a part of what was the main camp. But I hadn't seen you in a long time, and then all of a sudden we're in Fargo, and there was other guys that we played with or against that were there. It was like a reunion in the middle of North Dakota, so that's what it was.
Yeah, I know that's always funny. I always catch up with a few guys, but yeah, I'm glad to see Jacobs. It's not like he's super happy at the military academy. We're happy for his service, and it's a special place, and it takes a special kid to go there. So we're super proud of him. That's where he ended up. That's pretty awesome. So.
Yeah, like we say, I wasn't around to raise him well, so it was all his mom. So he did a good job. So
you did everything you could to screw him up, but your wife kept him.
I told him not to be a goalie, and he still became a goalie. So that's the problem. That's my first failure right there.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome.
So Marty, for you, obviously now you're in Buffalo. What exactly are you doing in Buffalo? How's the show going along? I know you just mentioned to us you're kind of all over the place with radio, things like that.
Yeah, no, it's very busy. I think I'm going into my 7th season as the studio analyst for the Sabres. So we do the pregame, the intermission, the post games. It's obviously Buffalo is a great hockey market. So it's fun. Like I walk around town now, and people know me more as the guy on TV than the guy that played in Buffalo, because it's so long ago. So they're like, "Oh, you're the guy on TV." Yeah, okay, great. So, but I also I do some side work. Like, we have a show every day that's called Sabres Live. It's a simulcast, and we basically talk for an hour. And I mean, and it's fun. It's pretty easy. You talk for an hour. That's right. But it's daily, right? So during the season, during the season is good, but we keep it going during the off season. So it gets a little challenging there. Some TSN stuff, some NHL radio stuff, and then I do some French stuff with RDS in Montreal. But with the pandemic, all of this working from home, it allowed me to have a little bit more of a reach with being able to do a few more things, covering a few more teams. So. But it's really good. It's been a busy retirement from playing, but I was ready for retirement, and now I'm full into this, and who knows where that's going to get me, because I really enjoy being in the office with the people, working with marketing, working with the game presentation, with the community relations. So I love doing a lot more than just being on TV.
Yeah, you're like the hardest working man in hockey. It's super nice when it's like you have a major league market too in your backyard,
Yeah, no, that's definitely. But I'll tell you, Noobs, like, I work with Mike Johnson at TSN, and Kevin Weeks and whatnot, and it's becoming like that. Like, if you're in that field, it's like you do a lot. You watch a lot of hockey, a lot of tape, a lot of prep. So. You got to be fully immersed in it, and that's what I'm doing right now.
And I think that's a big thing in the business that you're going in effect creating your second career, is that, like, people don't, and even like Tom Brady segueing into his new career, it's like the amount of homework is staggering, and it's like, it's no joke, like, prepping for that, and football is obviously different prep because you have 16 games and you're watching one game, you break down teams, but hockey, you've got to have an idea. You have to do your homework, and it's a pretty humbling process when you kind of watch guys. And if I've ever tried to do it, I did a little bit while I was still playing, and I'm like, oh, I was more nervous doing that than playing in a hockey game, and because you're like on TV and you're going to get exposed if you don't know what you're talking about. You think it's easy just talk about hockey, but the little like details and being able to come up with a player's name at the top of your head, and even saying players' names properly, and not like knowing names and like and saying it properly is like it's sneakier hard than you think when you're sitting on your couch watching you guys work. You guys do the amount of homework and the amount of it's very I think underappreciated by people.
For me, everybody's from Latvia because I always add S's on everything. So it's like, all the Latvians have S at the end of their name, like Gergensons and, Merzlikins or whatever. Like, so I add S's at everybody. So everybody's from Latvia.
I'm 100% Latvian. You know that, don't you?
Did you know? I didn't know that.
I am, yeah. I'm 100% Latvian. My parents are from there, so.
No.
I know my name's Knuble, but it was more like Knuble. Like, so my dad's name was 𝐅𝐎𝐷𝐿 Yeah.
Okay, see all the S's. All the S's. I should have called you Michael's Knuble.
All S's, yeah. So Michael, they would call me Mitchell's.
Oh, yeah, Mitchell's.
That was kind of my, so funny you brought up Latvians of all things.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, see, we uncovered plenty of things here. That's good.
Yeah.
Marty, this one's for you. What's your favorite moment with Mike as teammates?
Well, funny enough is Mike probably doesn't even remember this or know this, is that he has a connection to my daughter, Emily. And because my daughter, Emily, was born in the 2008 playoffs, and we were supposed to go to the hospital like between game 3 and 4 of the Washington series. And that's when the doctor had kind of set things up. And game 1 happens and we lose to the Washington Capitals game 1. I didn't play really well. And after the game, I'm talking to Anne-Marie and I'm like, how you doing? And she goes, I got a call from the doctor. We have to go in on Monday. Instead of going in on Wednesday, we have to go in on Monday. You're going to have to let everybody know, John Stevens and Paul Holmgren, that, you're going to, between game 2 and 3 instead of game 3 and 4. I'm like, I'm not going to tell them now. I didn't play well. We lost game 1. I'm going to wait to see. I'm going to wait to see what happens in game 2, and then I'll let them know. So because of the great Mike Knuble and his goal that made it 1-0, I believe, right? You scored to make it 1-0 in game 2, right? And then we won 2-0, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
I had a shutout and you scored a goal. So then it made me like more confident to go in and say, hey, we won. I played well. We had a shutout. By the way, I'm not at practice tomorrow. We're going to hospital. We're having a baby. And then my daughter, Emily, was born on April the 14th. So the 13th was that game that we won 2-0, and then she was born on the 14th. So I always say, because you scored a goal, I was able to go in and not have a practice the next day because I was at the hospital.
I know, you're like, you finish that game up, you just shut them out. Your first thought's not about the win. It's like, okay, I can go talk to these guys now, which is great.
Green light to go talk to Paul Holmgren. Like, Homer was a scary man, so you better make sure you have some good stuff to come in if you're going to talk to him.
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, I'm sure, they had an idea. So they were just like, they had an idea. Obviously, you guys, Anne-Marie's due, and they're like, oh, God, when's she going to have this baby? Hopefully it's between series, but that's nice.
I remember Mr. Snyder coming in. So we won game 3 and 4 at home. We're up 3-1 in the series, right? And Mr. Snyder came into the locker room after game 4 and he's like, playoff babies, they're lucky because maybe he's had experienced that over the years when somebody had a baby in the playoffs, and maybe, I don't know if there are 2 cups, if that happened or whatnot, but he was really fixated on the fact that playoff babies were lucky. We ended up going to the conference finals, but I want to say that's like one of my most favorite run in all of my careers, all of my years, like going to the conference finals, and Noobs, you were a big part of it, but that group, right, with Jason Smith and Hatch and Chemo and 𝐊𝐍𝐷 and, all those guys, like I had so much fun that year, and that was my first playoff experience. So you were a big part of that.
Yeah, that was, I mean, because the year before, I think we were literally last place. I don't know, we were down the bottom. Yeah. It was kind of that fallout. And then Paul made, he got you know, he got like the Nashville guys. He got rights to chemo and
Hartnell.
and got Danny and free agents.
Pierre.
You came like halfway through the year, didn't you?
I came right at the deadline at the end of that
deadline.
year. I came at the deadline and finished the year. And yeah, we were last. We went 0-6. No, not 0-6. 0-8, I think, against the Pittsburgh Penguins that year. And I remember we played a game in Pittsburgh at the end of the year, and everybody's flashing sign 8-0 because we were playing teams in our division 8 times. We finished last, and then we lost the lottery. We didn't get Patrick Kane. We ended up with JVR. So Kane goes to Chicago. So not only did we finish last, we didn't even win the lottery. So we ended up picking second.
It's crazy. But yeah, so you came at the deadline now that year, and then it was kind of like, just nobody panic. We'll get this together. And they did a nice job. Like, you know, Danny and Chris Drury were the big free agents that summer. They ended up, you know, Drury went to New York, and the irony is, they went to their teams, and now they're GMs of those teams, which is sort of interesting, you know. But you know, and I think Scott Gomez might have been a big guy that year too. Went to Montreal.
He was,
Mm-hmm. Well, it was a lot of there was some jockeying around, and the team made that big four. That was fun. You know,
and the jump from Richards and Carter and those guys was big for us as well. You know, we had some Braden Coburn came in from Atlanta the year before as well to finish the year. But I also remember the end of that year when I got traded with Jeff Sanderson and Chico and those guys. Like it was a bit of a shit show, I won't lie. Like, oh my God, we had some veterans that knew they weren't coming back, and so it was
probably Mike Ratchie was injured. Mike Ratchie, he was injured and just hanging out and drinking beer.
I would see him walk around town, and I'd be like, "Hey, this guy I think plays for us, but he's not really playing for us."
Exactly. Kind of lived in town, and then he wasn't like, exactly. Like, I think he's on our team.
Yeah.
For a new guy, for you coming in new, that's funny.
That's funny. So let me ask then. So going in from 06-07, what was kind of the biggest difference? Like, you guys are, you know, worse than the league. Then you go in the next year, Eastern Conference Finals. Could you guys kind of sense, because obviously, you know, you're both on the team before, you know, established in the league a little bit. Could you guys kind of sense that something could turn around pretty quickly with just all the changes in that summer?
I mean, I was new to this group, so I hadn't lived through the Hitchcock time, and, you know, there was kind of a downfall a little bit. But the first start of that 7-8 season, Noobs, we went over to Whistler, right? Like, we played Calgary and the Oilers, and then we had like 4 days in between the next game in Vancouver. So they decided to take us to Whistler and do this full like team bonding. Like we had a firm that came in and was doing these trust fall and like puzzles, and we were all working together. And that was the first time any team had put any work into doing something like that for me. Like, it was new to me. And I thought it was so interesting. And I'm like, we got something cool going on here. Like, they're thinking not just about the hockey, they're thinking about how we work together, how we communicate with one another, the old guys, the young guys. And they were spending money because they had rented these 2 big villas and the whole thing. Like, it was pretty special. I'm thinking, like, this is cool. This is the way the NHL is. And then we beat Vancouver 7-2. That was the Jesse Bullreese cross check where he got suspended, right? But we beat Vancouver 7-2 after that. And look, we had fun in Whistler. You know, we hung out, drank some beers, had dinners and all of that. It could have gone the other way, but we won in a deciding way in Vancouver. And after that game, I thought, we have something. Now, we were first at the All-Star break, and then we lost 10 in a row. And we were out of a playoff spot. And it wasn't until the second last game that we made the playoffs. But, you know, we had some ups and downs, but it was, I think at the start of the season, that trip gave me the idea anyway. Noobs, I don't know if you had the same feeling, but it gave me the idea that, we have something special here.
Yeah, and those trips are great, right? Beginning of the year, and we were talking about the military academy stuff, but that was like preseason. But this trip was budgeted in with the time off, and like you said, you're gonna have fun. You practice a little bit and kill some time before you have that other game. But you know, you could see, and obviously we talked about the new guys coming in. You know, the Hartnells coming in and chemo, and I think 𝐊𝐈𝐂𝐄 might have been in that group somehow.
He was my roommate. 𝐊𝐈��� was my roommate. I didn't know him, and we were like, hey, what are we doing? Let's go walk around. And it was like, oh, great. Like, I don't know this guy, but I got to know him. It was awesome.
Yeah, he'll find himself some trouble, exactly. But, you know, and then, you know, you had Danny, a big signing coming in. So it was great. The timing was impeccable for that, you know, and then Jesse kind of had, I think Steve Downey got suspended in preseason or something.
Yeah,
and
he got 20 games for hitting Dean McCammon, and then Bory's got 25 games for the cross-check on we had like 50 game suspension. It was Ryan Kessler. He cross-checked in the face, and we had like, and then Randy Jones at Patrice Bergeron, 𝐊𝐈𝐂𝐄𝐒. I think we had over 50 games of suspension 3 weeks into the season.
Wow.
We had a real nice build to that team because we had skill, and then we had, you know, you had tough skill, and then we had toughness, and we had some guys in between. So had a real nice build to that team. Now you talk about that 10-game losing streak. Now I remember Paul Holmgren coming in and talking to the team twice maybe, which he didn't, and he knew it was not good when he came in. And that might have been one of the streaks where he came in and he'd walk in and he'd hold a stick in his hand. You're like, oh, shit. Yeah, you're like, oh,
I remember he held this stick and he's looking for everybody. He's talking and he's like, I need more from you, and I need more from you. And he's pointing the stick, and then like he was looking for Briere. And he goes, where's that little? Then he found him. He goes, I need more from you. And it's like, oh, like pointing the finger right at you, the stick right at you was tough.
Oh man. Like it was like as soon as he grabbed a stick and had a stick in your hand, you're like, oh, this is not a good meeting. This is not gonna be good. He got some beef right here. He's gonna let it out. So that was the biggest tell. And it probably in my 5 years there, it happened twice. And I was like, and I got to believe, I feel like one of those 10-game slides was like probably the time he came in and talked to everybody a little bit. But, and I don't know what the response was. I don't know what we did the very next night, but you know, you did not want him pointing the finger at you. Like you were
the way we broke the streak is we had the Wife's Carnival in Philly. And then we flew to Buffalo and then won the game in Buffalo. That would have been the 11th, and then we won and got back into a bit of a streak there. But yeah, I remember we had the Wife's Carnival was huge in Philly, and they still do it, and it's one of those big charity events at the big building, autographs and the whole thing. And then we flew out to Buffalo, went to the Chop House most likely, got it going, and then we won the next day.
Exactly. Yeah. That's so. That was a very good year. It was a good year, and probably fell a little flat in the conference final, but a nice group, like a lot of ingredients for a good hockey team.
Yeah. You know, it sucks because I think the Flyers around that time, like it was building like a really good core, and then you guys kind of felt like hit into that really good Pittsburgh team that went to the finals 2 years in a row. But Marty, you mentioned John Stevens a little bit earlier. Mm-hmm. What kind of clicked when he took over? What was kind of the mindset like? Like, was there anything that you noticed kind of right away? And that goes for you too, Mike.
Johnny was, to me, a really good tactician. And so when I came in, I was impressed with like the video sessions, the meetings, the preparation, like all the breakdowns. One thing that I hated is that Johnny doesn't do the breakdown in the video session with the regular camera angle from like the TV. He has the one high end zone, like it's like the all 22 in football, and that's how we watch tape, and it's so boring. It's like everything is slow. It shows the mistakes so much more obvious because you see the full ice, right? Like when it's the camera angle from on TV, sometimes you can hide. You can hide on the back check if you're a player, or, like sometimes you can, be able to see different things, but he used to do that. But Johnny was a good tactician. I never, like, I came from Lindy Ruff in Buffalo, and we talk about Paul Holmgren, who's like, they're tough. And when they come in, you sit a little straighter. Like, I feel like John hadn't gone to that place yet as a head coach. So it was a little different when he came in and wanted to lay into the guys, but the preparation and all the video and the breakdowns were amazing. Like, I learned a lot about systems in that way.
Yeah, I remember being very calm, right? So he had a great relationship with the young guys too, because they won the Phantoms, right? And they won the thing, and guys kind of, he kind of took them to the top. So you have, you kind of have a hold of that core group, you know, the younger guys. You already got a hold of those guys, you know. And then I think some of the younger guys, you know, like he was a Flyer system guy, so he was, you know, he played there. He was the captain in the minor team, and then he got, you know, he's a really hard-nosed defenseman. I think he respected how he played, and he kind of, you know, so he had a body of work where you're going to listen to what he was saying. And then I thought he was very calm in his delivery, and he didn't get real rattled. He had good relationships with you, and it was, you know, he was very straight laced. Like it was kind of straight, but he would, you know, when he tried to be funny and stuff, it was kind of like dad jokes a little bit, you know, but he was good. I mean, it's, you know, I still kind of keep an eye on him, you know, where he's still coaching. And I mean, he's just been coaching forever, which is great. And even his sons have come through Grand Rapids and played for the Griffins, and they're in the American League. You see them around. So they were just little guys running around the rink back in the day. So, I mean, he's turned into quite the lifer, you know, in hockey, and had some real good success too. And I think he's super well respected, you know, still around the league. But, you know, I thought he just did a good job of kind of a calmness, you know. I think it was post-hitch, and it was just a little bit of calmer. And like I said, he had the young guys already under his wing, and you know, and I think a lot of guys that played against him in the minors or whatever knew him. And so he had a real nice influence, a real nice, like good coaching demeanor about him.
When he got angry,
he put the hammer down when he had to. He wasn't a pushover by any means.
But it almost felt like it was a little bit fake sometimes when he got angry, because he was such a calm, nice guy that when he came in and was angry, I was like, was that threatening? Like, I don't know how I feel about it, but yeah, it was a little different that way.
Yeah. Well, those coaches always walk out, they go to their assistant, they go, did they buy that?
Yeah, exactly.
They think they're buying that? You know, like, again, coaching, they see the, you know, again, they see the big picture. They're not all emotional, but they're try and put their hammer down when they can, and then they're like, how was that? Do you think they bought that? But, you know, so, but it's good. You get their point across anyway. Yeah. I enjoyed playing for him. Real compliment about him.
Yeah. Marty, this one's for you too. You mentioned Lindy Ruff a little bit. Any stories you have? I know he's back in Buffalo now. Obviously coached before. Just any stories or anything you have about Lindy?
Lindy, when he played, he was a jokester. Like, he was the guy in the room that played pranks on everybody. And then, you know, he was that guy. He played tough. Like, he was a defenseman, a forward. Like, he did everything. And I think that's why he became a coach and became really good as a coach. And as a coach, like, I remember the 1 year in Buffalo, build a house, and Lindy's like, you know what? I used to have all the team party at my house. You know, Halloween party was awesome. Christmas party was awesome. So you should get everybody together. And so, noobs, you know, like the first big party of the year is always the Halloween party. It's late October. And I did a huge party. And then 4 days later, we got spanked. Like, that was our next game, was about 4 days later. And he blamed it. He came in the locker room and he singled me out. You wanted to have a party, huh? You wanted to throw the big party. Look at what happened. And you guys were all crap. And I'm like, you told me to have parties. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, so I keep telling the boys in Buffalo now, because Lindy's back, I'm like, hey, if you have a party, like, make sure you win the next game, because it's a non-negotiable right there. Like, we had some great parties in Philly, and I don't remember if we won or lost the next game, because it was never that party, it cost you the game or whatnot. But that one in Buffalo was the reason why we lost the game, was the fact that I threw a Halloween party. It was on me.
Yeah, that's awesome. He sets you up, and then it's like if you win, he's like, hey, Marty, see, I told you to have a party. And if you lose, like, why did you have a party? You know, and it's just coaching 101. It's just like using it to your advantage. But
it's like the rookie party, like the rookie dinner that we do on the road. You better win that next game. And, you know, because it gets, coaches like to use that as their, they get a hold of you. They're like, oh, you wanted to have the rookie dinner? Now you lost the game. You're going to do it my way. That's the way it goes.
I know. My last year in Washington, things were getting tight. Dale Hunter like squashed ours. Dale Hunter came in for Bruce Boudreau, squashed ours.
Yeah. No way.
That whole group, I forget who it was. It wasn't like John Carlson. It was whoever was after him. There was a big group of rookies, and they didn't. Yep. Matthew Perot maybe, or something like that. Like, they all got like no rookie party. It was like, what? But, you know, by the time he came in, it got tight. But yeah, the ammunition, that's like coaching 101 ammunition right there. Even you can almost throw on the team Christmas party too. You can almost throw that in there too. But
Yeah, or if you go to vacation and you come back like all-star break or bye week or whatnot, you come back with just a little glow, a little tan. like they used to make sure guys walked around the locker room without their shirts on so that they would see if you got a little sunburnt or what's happening there to see like what happened. They like that ammunition. Torts was like that a little bit in New York too. I love Torts. I love Lindy. I love Torts. But it's they pay really close attention to the extra stuff to see what they can use.
Oh yeah, and you get some rookies and you have a Florida trip or something early, or it's in December. They hang out. It's a really nice day. Everybody's feeling a little bit of the season. They hang out on the beach a little bit too long and show up the next day. Their skin's pink. They can't barely put their t-shirt on, can barely put their gear on, and they're just like hiding in the court. If the coach saw that, he'd be losing his mind on you. You know, they just lay out on the beach, or somebody falls asleep, takes a nap. All of a sudden, they wake up a half hour later, and they got white, pasty northern skin, and then all of a sudden, it's just crisp. And they show up the next day, and they're like, "I'm dying right now." Trying to get aloe vera from the trainer, and just trying to be like, "I can't even put my shirt on right now."
Yeah. You're not winning a lot of one-on-one battles in the corners after that because your skin just hurts.
Florida, I practice in Florida. Like, he's not very engaged today. He's not like engaging anybody physically. And you're like, what's going on with him? He's like, he's sunburned.
That's funny.
Man. But,
no, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Marty, you mentioned Torts a little bit. Obviously, me and Mike, we kind of been, break talking about the Flyers and just kind of the start of the season and all. Obviously, you played. Where do you see kind of the Flyers in the rebuild? I know, obviously, you've been doing Buffalo for a while, but it feels like they're, me and Mike have kind of been getting there. Like, they don't necessarily like have to be good yet. You know what I mean? They're kind of getting along. They just got 𝐊𝐷𝐿, all those things too. So where do you kind of see like the Flyers right now?
Well, first of all, 𝐊𝐷𝐿 is fantastic. I mean, preseason, he was so electrifying and he was fun to watch. I think he's my favorite for the Calder Trophy this year, before the season starts, and we'll see what happens. I still think there's question mark in net with the Flyers. Fedotov is big. He's looked decent in preseason, and Ersson had a really good start last year. He's looked good too. So, but it's not like you're not going in with Vasilevsky or Bobrovsky or Shesterkin, and there's a big gap there. So, but Torts will make up that gap. Like, I had my 3.5 years with the New York Rangers, and the first 3 years were with Torts. I mean, I almost feel like the game was so simple for me as a goalie, and Lundqvist would say the same thing. And he had so much success with Tortorella because of the systems, because of the way they play defensively. So that is one thing that will help Fedotov, will help Ersson, will help the D core, right? To really gain confidence that when they have the puck, they have one or two plays. Like they're not going to hang on to it. They're not going to reverse. They're not going to slow the game down. They're just going to go straight north. Now it put a lot of emphasis on the forwards and, their forecheck, because a lot of time you're just chipping the puck in the neutral zone or dumping it in. So the forwards are going to have to really, get going. But do I think the Flyers are in the mix for the Metropolitan Division for playoffs? I think it's going to be tough. I don't think that Pittsburgh is where they used to be. I don't think Washington is where they used to be. So the Flyers are on the way up and some teams are on the way down, but I still think there's a year or two of work to be done before they're there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And me and Mike, we've kind of hinted at that too. It's just, Mike, you mentioned this in our last episode, just kind of like they really need help. If you look at the division, and they kind of need what happened last year to happen again, where teams like Jersey, they're kind of decimated by injury, and you know what I mean? Like, they need a lot of help to get in.
Yeah, it's, you're not praying for like somebody's, failures to help you out, but that's the reality. Is you need a little bit of a stumble for somebody else, and you need some of the planets to align correctly. And I get what you're saying, Marty. About the goaltending. It's you don't have that. It's kind of like entering a season with a quarterback. If you have two quarterbacks, you got none really. And that's the old football saying, right? If you got two, you got none really. And it's kind of like that. And I guess what you're saying towards system, like they play like, they're not going to mess around with territory, and they're going to try and keep the puck advancing north, and not like, and then go get it again when you're down there. Make sure you're trying to log more time on their end than your end, which seems very logical. Like you'd want to do that, but some teams are a little bit more. They can back off and defend. And they're not worried about everything. They're fine to play in our own end. And sometimes when your goaltending is, you're not quite sure where it's at, and I mean, kind of came out yesterday, said it makes them a little bit nervous. You want to make sure you're doing things. All right, why don't we worry about advancing the puck up the ice, and let's make sure we're really, our forwards need to be, more diligent on the forecheck, and we got to hammer on the point that we got to recover pucks, and we, shots, offensive zone shots, those zone shots, we got to be recovering it. We got to be collecting those pucks, not giving it up and retreating. We got to keep pressing forward in that respect. So, I could see them maybe taking a little bit of that angle too.
Okay. Marty, I know you got a hard stop here. Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
We'll have to do it again. We'll have to midway in the season kind of see where they're at, and we got probably more stories to tell, and so we'll have to definitely do that again.
Yeah, no, for sure. Again, thanks so much, and again, we really appreciate it. Thanks everybody for all the support as always. Checking us out, Kicking It With Knuble, and we'll talk to you guys all again next week. See you guys.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you very much, buddy.
Thanks, guys.